In this video, we'll learn Lightning Data Service. So Lightning Data Service basically a centralized data caching framework, and it is built on top of user interface API. So let's try to understand with a simple use case. Okay. So I have a Lightning Web component and my requirement is to fetch the record A or account record, some record. Okay. So how things works behind the scene, we'll try to visualize from the first box, that is the first scenario. So basically I'll call the server with some method. It can be any approach. Okay, so I'm fetching a method, I'm calling a method. Okay, go and fetch the record A. Behind the scene it will go and see in the Lightning Data Service, it's a caching, browser cache somewhere. Okay, and it will go to the cache and say, is a record available? If there is no A record available, it will say no, go to server. Then it will go and enter into the server. In the server, we have UI API, user interface API, and it will send the request to database. It fetch the data and it comes to the UI API. I'll explain you what is the role of UI API here. It get the data, UI API pass the same data further, and it comes to the Lightning Data Service back and it says, okay, I got the data, you store it in your cache. Okay, and it sends the data back to the Lightning Web component. This is the first journey, the time you call or you fetch the record A for the first time. Now the second time, go to this second box and try to visualize. Now second time you again need to fetch the record A. You will do the same process, call any method. It will say, oh, go and fetch the record A. It will come to the Lightning Data Service and it checked, is A record available? And in the cache they found the record A is available. It says yes. Then it fetch the record from cache and send it back, and our Lightning Web component gets the data. Now if you see, the benefit of Lightning Data Service here is it saves the server call again and again. It not need to go to the network call. It's reduce our network call. It will be fast, right? It immediately fetch the data from the cache and update the Lightning Web component. So let's go and see what all the benefits that we have. So we'll go through the points quickly. Lightning Data Service is a centralized data caching framework. As I already showed you, it's a caching mechanism behind the scene and it is built on top of user interface API. The UI API gives you the data and the metadata in the single response. So basically when you send the query, it fetches the data and metadata, but both comes in a different response. UI API functionality is to convert both the response into the single response. So UI API gives you the data and the metadata in a single response and also respect CRUD access, field level security and sharing setting. So when you try to fetch a record or a field, if you don't have the access, you will not able to access that particular field or you will not able to see that field. Okay, so whatever it's defined in the system, whatever the field level security settings are there, it supports everything as it is. Then LDS displays only records in the field for which user had CRUD access and field level security that I already explained. LDS cache result on the client. So if you look at the diagram, the LDS Lightning Data Service is a client side cache. Basically, it's not at the server side. And LDS invalidates the cache entry when Salesforce data or metadata change. So behind the scene, if third component update the record A, it automatically invalidate the cache and it fetch the latest records, and it automatically update the Lightning Web component as well. And the best benefit is the optimize the server call. It will be very fast because we are not calling the database again and again. So that's the beauty of the Lightning Data Service. So now we know how Lightning Data Service works and what are the benefits. Now in the next video we'll learn base component, lightning base component built using lightning data service. Now you get the understanding how base components are working behind the scene. So in the next video we'll learn base components. So I'll see you in the next video. In this video we'll learn base lightning components. So this is the first approach by which we can fetch the data from the Salesforce to our lightning web component. So let's go and see what is base lightning component and how it works. So base lightning components are built on the lightning data service. Now we already know from our previous video what is lightning data service, and lightning data service is used behind the scene by base component, and it inherits its caching and the synchronization capabilities. And there are three types of base lightning component that is built on LDS. The LDS is lightning data service. So three base lightning components we're gonna learn in lightning web component series. The first component is lightning record form. Second is the lightning record edit form. Third one is the lightning record view form. So these three approaches we have under the base lightning components, and each one of them has their own unique feature and own advantage or disadvantage. So before understand these three forms, we should need to understand when to go with these forms, right? So whenever you want a metadata driven UI or a form based UI similar to record detail page, go with these forms. Whenever you want to display the records value based on the field metadata, you can use these forms. You want to hide or show localized field labels, you can go with this form. Display the help text on the custom field, or you want to perform a client side validation and enforce validation rules, you can use these forms. So let's go and see more about these forms. So as name suggests, lightning record edit form displays an editable form. Similarly, lightning record view form display a form in the view mode, and the lightning record form, it supports edit, view and read only mode. So we have three forms now. In the tabular form, you can easily able to visualize when to use which form and what are the advantages. So first option is, the first feature is create records. So you can create the record from the lightning record form or the edit form, because view form is just for viewing the data, right? It's a read only mode basically. Then you can edit the record in record form as well as in the edit form. Then you can view the record. View record you can use in the lightning view form and the record form, because by default edit form give you a editable mode. Okay, you can convert your lightning form to the read only mode similarly to lightning record view form. The biggest difference that comes in the customization basically. So whenever you don't want to customize and you want to build it very quickly, the form, the way the layout coming from the Salesforce or configured by the admin, just go with lightning record form. This is the best and the easiest way to create the form, and easily you can create, retrieve, update, delete all those options here in the lightning record form. But as soon as you want some sort of customization, right, like you want to change two fields per row, or like two columns or three columns in the fields, you can customize only in the view form and the edit form. And it's always good to go with the edit form when you want to create the record or edit the record, because there is no option in the view form. And the other advantages of the edit form, you can configure your custom validation very easily in the lightning edit form. Okay, so with lightning record form, you can specify a layout and allow admin to configure form fields declaratively, and you can also specify an order list of fields to programmatically define what's to display. And lightning record form allow you to view and edit record. So the best form I would say, and the quickest one to create the form or create the record or edit the record or view the record is the lightning record form. But once you need a very good customization, or you want to design your fields or layout based on your requirement, go with the edit form. But if you want to show only a form that is read only mode, go with the lightning record view form. So now we have seen all three types of base component: record form, view form and edit form. Now from next video onward, we'll go one by one with each form and write the code and see how we can achieve the create, read, update or view functionality or whatever the functionality they are giving to us and see their advantages there itself. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. In this video, we'll learn Lightning Record Form. So the Lightning Record Form component we use when we have to quickly create a form that allow us to add, view or update a record. The Lightning Record Form component provide us some helpful features like you can easily switch between the modes, view modes and the edit mode. By default, when the form loads, it is in the view mode and you will see a pencil icon next to the field. On click of that, you can immediately switch to the edit mode. Then this forms gives us two buttons by default like cancel button and save button, and on click of save you can update or create the record and use the object's default record layout with support for multiple column. So this forms gives us a freedom to choose the column layout, like whether you want the form in one column layout or two column layout based on the number you mention in the columns property. Apart from that, you can load the fields based on the compact and full layout that we'll see in the example. The other very important point you need to remember with this form is very less customizable. So whenever you want to achieve some customization, always go with the other forms like the Lightning Record Edit form or Lightning Record View form that we'll cover in the next video. And the very key point here is whenever possible to boost performance, define fields instead of layout. Specify a layout only when the administrator, not the component, needs to manage the provision field. So this is a very important point, right? There is a use layout when to use fields. So whenever your administrator gonna handle everything, then go with the layout. When you want to handle yourself within the component, go with the fields property. So let's go and see what all power we have with this form, like what all the attributes we're gonna use, what all things we can pass to this form. So the most important property is the object API name. This attribute is always required with this Lightning Record Form component. And in this, you have to specify the relationship between the account and object. Basically, in this attribute, you have to mention what's your object. Basically, it's an account or contact or opportunity. And the key point to note here is event and task objects are not supported with this form. Okay. The second attribute is the record ID. This attribute is also required only when you are editing or viewing a form. For creating, it's not required, but for editing or viewing the Lightning Record Form, this attribute is very much needed. Then we have the fields. We have to pass the fields as an array of string. Fields tells the form what all fields you need to render in the form. Okay, and this field display in the order you list the fields in the JavaScript. Okay, we'll see everything one by one. That time it makes more sense instead of theory. Then we have another property, layout type. This property specify whether you want to specify a full layout or a compact layout design. Then we have a mode. You can explicitly set the mode, whether you want to show the form in the edit mode, view mode or read only mode. And then we have a property columns. We use this attribute to show the multiple columns in the form. So let's go and see our first scenario, that is create a record using Lightning Record Form. And to start using the Lightning Record Form, we need some imports. And the import reference of Salesforce object and fields comes from the @Salesforce schema. This thing you need to remember always, because this now onwards we're gonna use this particular import heavily. So to tell our form which object we want to use, we need to import the object reference. And for that, you need to use this import object name from @Salesforce/schema your object reference. Object reference can be account, opportunities, case, or your contact, any, or it can be a custom object as well. Then from that object, you need to fetch some fields as well, right? Some specific field, whether a type, industry, name, anything, right? So for that, you need to import individually each field. Suppose I'm importing a name, so it will be import name from @Salesforce schema object, that is account dot name. And once you imported it, you need to map those fields to our lightning record form component. So first attribute that we discuss is the object API name. In our case, object name will be an account, so account will map here. Then the fields, as I showed in the previous video, fields will be passed as an array of string. So if suppose we imported 4 fields, so we need to arrange those 4 fields in the form of array and map it to the fields. Then there is a property on success. This is only required when you want to perform some action after your record created. So it means once you create or update the record, you want to show some toast message, that time this method is required. So let's go to our VS Code and see this in a demo. So I'm in my VS Code. Let's create a new Lightning Web component. I'll give this name record form demo. So it's created the component. And the first step, we need to import some references. Like first thing, we need to import which object we're gonna use. So I'll say my alias name account object. It always give your alias in the capital letter when you are referring an object or fields. So we have to import the reference from @Salesforce/schema and your object name. In our case, our object name is account. Then we need to fetch some fields from this particular object. For that, you need to follow the same syntax. So I'll say name field, and it will be account dot name, and this should be the field API name. Okay, and then I want to import annual revenue field, and that should be from the same path, only the field API name will be different. Annual revenue. Then I want, again I'll import 2 more fields quickly. And I'll say one field is type field, another one is the industry field, and the type field imported from account.type, and industry field imported from account.industry. If you guys are confused where we can find this name, I'll show you quickly that as well, because that's very important. Go to the setup. Within the setup, you will get the object manager. You select the object manager and go for your object name, that is account. Account object name, API name is account, that's why we are using account here. After that, you go to this object and choose fields and relationship. Here you can find all the names. So my name for account name, my field name is name, so I'm using here name. I look for annual revenue. This is my field name here, ANR capital and both without space, so I'm using that name. Likewise, you can find all the field names here. Don't use field label, you need to use the field name. So now we have imported all the fields and the objects, so we need to store into a variable now, because we want them to use in the HTML, and to use anything in the HTML we need to store it into a variable. I'll say object name equal to count object, and I want my field list. As I already said, my record form takes the fields in the form of array of strings, so by default these are the string formats. So name field, annual revenue field, type field, and the industry fields. So I have both things that is required for me to create a record. Right now I don't need record ID because I haven't created a record. Right, so what we're gonna do here is, now we go to our HTML and create our form, that is lightning record form. And before that, I'll create a card, and I give this lightning record using create record using lightning record form. And here we're gonna call lightning record form. Within this record form, we need to pass some attributes. So we'll say object API name, and we'll map the API name that we are importing. So it automatically said, tell to this form you have to import the object account. Then we have another attribute that is fields. It will take array of fields, so we'll map this field list to the fields. So by this is the default or like the basic structure that is required, but I want something like once I create the record, it should show me the toast message as well, some indication to the user so that the user knows something has been created, right? For that, what we'll do, we'll use another property on success, and it will call the method on success handler. So once my record has been created, it will return and call this success handler, and then this success handler will receive an ID and will show that ID on the screen. Okay, so let's do that. So let's quickly create a method. That method will receive an event, and in the event it will receive an ID, and to print that ID will say event.detail.id, because this is the standard component given by Salesforce, and we already know when a child pass something to the parent, it means it will come in the form of detail, right? So we are catching the event in the form of detail.id, and then what we want is we want to show a toast message, and we already know how toast message works. In previous video we already created that. So first thing, we need to import the power to show the toast, that is show toast event. So now we are importing the show toast event from lightning/platform show toast event. Once this event constructor is available, we call or we'll create the event. So to create an event, we'll say new show toast event. It will take few property like title of the toast, we'll say account created. Then we need to pass message, what message you want to show on the toast, we'll say record ID, and then we'll say event.detail.id and variant success, because we know this method will only call when the record is created successfully. So variant is success, and let's store this into a variable toast event, and we'll dispatch this toast event. So we'll call the dispatch event method and pass our event. So now our form is ready, our toast is ready. Now it's time to test it, and for that we need to deploy, and before deploying we have to update the meta file. So meta configuration I'm updating, I'm keeping the target again the lightning app page. So let's deploy this now. It is deployed now. Let's go to our org. I already created an app page, you guys can create it. If you don't know, you can watch my previous videos. So let's go and edit the page. Let's search for our component, record form demo, place it to the first column, hit save, and let's go back. So now you can see that with the lightning record form tag or the component, we are able to create a form. It's showing us only those fields that we have mentioned. We have mentioned we need a name field, annual revenue, type, and industry. By default, it's giving us the save and cancel buttons. Layout is single column. So let's create a record now. I'll say my first record form. I'll give some revenue. Here I'll select prospect. I'll take industry, agriculture. And if you see, the fields are almost like the same order that we have mentioned, like name, revenue, type, and industry, and name, revenue, type, and industry. So it always load in the order you define in your JS file. So enter the fields. I'm hitting the save. It will create a record. I'm copying this ID now. So this is the ID of our record. Okay. And now a record has been created, and to verify that you can go to accounts. Just go to app launchers, select accounts, and in accounts you can see this is my record, my first record form, and it's prospect, agriculture, whatever we have defined is created that record. Okay, let's go to our VS Code now. And now our second task is to display the record, right? So for before that, let's go to the slides, and I have a slide for display record as well. So we can display the records in two modes, view mode and the read only mode. And to display the records we need a record ID, because to display an existing record then definitely it has some record ID and we need that record ID. And in this case I'm gonna use the same record ID for the record that we have just now created. I copied that record ID, and if you miss to create copy the record ID, you can inspect, and in the console you will see that record ID. I already consoling it. We're gonna use this record ID. Let's go back to our VS Code and see how this works. So let's create another card. I'll paste this ID here for time being. Let's create another card, and let's say display record here. Record using lightning record form. And now here I don't want on success handler right now because I'm just displaying the record. Then I'll say record ID, and that record ID I'm passing hard-codedly right now. I'll show you how it works dynamically as well, but for time being, to understand the concept, we'll go with the hard-coded ID. We'll keep the fields and the object name same. We're just changing the record ID. And let's deploy this component now. Let's go back to our refresh the page. So now this is my second card, and now you can see it's fetching the same details that particular record has, like prospect, agriculture, my first record form name, and it's giving us only the view mode. You can switch to the edit mode using clicking this pencil icon, but by default it's in the view mode now. Let's go to our second scenario. I don't want the form to be in the view mode. I want it to be in the read only mode. Let's go to our VS Code and let's copy paste the same card again and paste it below. I'll say display record in read only mode using lightning record form. And here the only extra thing you have to add is a new attribute called mode. I'll say read only, and let's deploy this. Component is deployed. Let's go to the org, refresh the page, and now we have three cards. First with the create, then display record in edit read only mode. Now you can see it's displaying the details, but in read only mode you can't edit it like the previous one. You can edit using clicking on this pencil icon. So this is our third approach in which we introduce the mode. Now let's go back, and now we'll go to the another one, that is edit a record using lightning record form. The approach will be the same, and we'll use the record ID, we'll use the object API name. This time we'll understand how columns works, how edit mode works, how layout type works. And you already seen I have used a fields property, because either you use field properties or you use layout type. Layout type you should use when you want to give the control to your administrator to design the layout, and if you want to take control in your hand or to the component's hand, we'll go with the fields. And always from the performance point of view, fields are preferable. So let's go and create the edit form now. I am back to my VS Code, and to create the edit form, I'll just copy paste the same thing again, and I'll say edit record using lightning record form. I'll keep the record ID as it is. I'll keep the object API name as it is. I'll use the fields only for the first time. I'll say mode edit, and I want columns to be 2. Right now by default it's showing column 1. I want this form to be shown in the 2 column layout. Okay, and I haven't talked about right now a layout. I'm just showing you a scenario in which I'm using fields with the mode edit and the columns. Okay, let's deploy this. It's deployed. Let's go back to our page, refresh the page. I'll go to the 4th card. Now the heading is edit record using lightning record form. Now you can see by default my form is in editable mode. So this mode is setting this form by default to the editable mode. It's showing me only those fields that I have mentioned. Those are the 4 fields. Now all the forms showing us everything in the 1 column layout. Now as I explicitly said I want 2 column layout, it's showing me in the 2 column. It has a save button. And the other beauty of these forms, they build on top of lightning data service, and as I said, lightning data service use the cache, and if somebody updates the record, it automatically updates the other component wherever the data has been used. So I'll show you the example straight away. So see, this is one component, this is another card, and here the account name is my record form, here also my record form. Now if I update it, I'll say I'll update to my record form 1 and hit save. I don't need to refresh the page. It automatically invalidate the cache in the lightning data service, and it automatically fetch the fresh data. Let's try this. I hit save. As soon as I hit save, now you can go to all the components and you can see it's automatically updating it. Even though these cards exist in a different component, there also it will work. Okay, it's not like I'm using all the cards in the same component, that's why it's working. You can try it your own. You can create another component, use the same technique that we are using, and once you update it, it updates the other component as well. And in the edit mode, as soon as I update the record, it went back to the view mode. Okay, now let's go and see the layout attribute. For that, I'll just copy paste the same card, and I'll say edit record with layout using lightning record form. If you are using layout, you don't need to use the fields, and I'll say layout type. There are 2 types of layout. Either we can go with full or with compact. So I'll show you a demo with compact. You try yourself with the full layout. So layout type compact. So whatever fields that has defined under the compact, it will use those fields to build the form. If you go with the full, it will create the form with all the fields that are mentioned in the full layout. So let's deploy this. Let's go back to our page, refresh the page. I'll change it to record page, and let's deploy this. Now what I'm gonna do is I'll place this component first in the record page. Okay, let's go, and for time being what we can do is I can go to my accounts record page. I'll edit this page, and I'll say record form demo. After adding that particular target only, you able to see this lightning form demo under the record page. So I'll place it here on the right side. Okay, now you can see our whole form is still working fine. Let's save this. Let's go back. I haven't changed anything right now. I have just used the meta tag so that my component should be visible. Now what I want is I want my IDs to be dynamic, right? And you already know how you can fetch your IDs and the object name dynamically. So I can do is like @ record ID @ API, and similarly I can use another property object API name, and to use a @API we have to import this from the LWC package. Now you can directly map your record ID to record ID and object API name to object API name. So this will also work. Okay, I'm not gonna change for other things. Let's try with the only one with the compact layout. Okay, let's save, push. But in this case, this particular card will not work, or this particular form will not work in the app page, because in app page record ID and object API name will not be available. These two properties only available by default in the record page. So it's deployed. Let's refresh the page. And now you see it's still showing us the form with the correct data. If I update it, it still work. It updated here, it updated here, even though it's updated here as well. This is how your Lightning record form works statically or dynamically. Based on your requirement, you can play around with it. And in the next video, we'll see the other base components. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. In this video, we'll learn Lightning record view form. So this is the second type of our base Lightning component. So in previous video, we already seen what is Lightning record form and when to use the Lightning record form. Now we're going to talk about Lightning record view form. So we use this form whenever we want to display some Salesforce record onto the screen, and it will always show the data in the read-only mode, and it shows the label of the form whatever you have configured in the Salesforce dashboard, right? So it will show the data, it will show the labels. You can't create the records. You can see the table. You can't create the records, you can't edit the records. It's just for displaying the data or the form data, and the only freedom that you get over the Lightning record form is the customization of the layout. So whenever you have to customize the layout and you just want to display the data, just go with this type of form, Lightning record view form. And to make the fields read only, we use Lightning output field component inside our Lightning record view form component. So let's go to the VS Code and see how it works. I'll go to command palette, create Lightning web component. I'll give this name record view form demo. So now my component is created. Let's go to the HTML file and quickly create the card. We'll give the title Lightning record view form as it is. Yeah, now within the card we want to add our Lightning record view form. For that we need to call that form and we have called that component. So now tag is there. Now we have to pass some attributes. The most common attribute is the object API name that will tell this form to which type of object you are, and the other thing that we want is the record ID, because if you have the record ID, then only you able to display the data of that particular record. For the object API name, I'll say account. I want object to be of account type for my form, and I need a record ID. In our previous video, if you go to the previous component that we created, that is record form demo, take the ID that we have used or we created in the previous video, we're gonna use the same ID for HTML, and we want create the record of type account for this particular record ID. So it will give us the data now, and we want the data to be in like custom layout. For that, what I'm gonna do is I'll say div class slds grid slds better. So these are the classes that's just for the layout purpose, and every grid is divided into 12 column basically. So first we'll create the column. We'll say class slds col, and now this column of how much space is, so we'll say slds size underscore 6 of 12. So we are telling I need a first column of size 6 and second column also of size 6 out of total 12. So now I have two columns, one with size 6, another is also size 6. Now within this we can define our fields, and to create the fields in the read-only mode, we already have a component lightning output field that takes field name, and field name should be your field API name basically. So I need a name, and then I'll copy paste it twice and one time here, and I'll say here second field I want phone, third field I want industry, and the fourth field I can say annual revenue. So we are designing the layout right now, and the layout is like in the first column I want 3 fields, in the second column I want only 1 field, and the field name is annual revenue in the second column, and in the first column I will have name, phone and industry. So this is how you can customize your layout. This is how you pass your record ID and object API name, and this will not create the record, this will not create or edit the record. This lightning record view form is just to display the form, okay, and that too in the read only mode. So let's go to our meta file. So before deploying we have to do the changes so that our component is visible, and I'm doing is exposed to true, and I'm setting the targets. This form should be available on the app page, and I already showed you in the previous video how you can get the object API name and the record ID dynamically, and the dynamic things will only work when you are placing your component in the record page. Okay, so but we are using a app page, so that's why I'm defining the hard-coded data here. So let's go and deploy this. So now it's deployed. Let's go to our org. Let's go to the setup gear icon and click edit page. And in edit page we'll search for our component name, that is record view form demo, place it to the center column and hit save button, click go back, and now you can see our card is visible, our lightning record view form is visible, everything is in the read mode, and you can't click or edit these things. And you can see these are two columns, first column showing the 3 fields and the second column is showing the annual revenue, and annual revenue is the only field in the second column, and you can change the layout. That's the freedom that you have, and the labels are coming, whatever the labels you have defined while creating the fields, the default label comes to the form and the values are coming automatically. And if you update the value here also, the value will update automatically. So this is how your lightning record view form works. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.